Your mind, as creative, idea-filled, and artistic as it may be, was shaped primarily during the 1.2 million years of the Pleistocene era, when humans lived as hunter-gatherers. This environment where evolutionary adaptiveness took place serves as the foundation of our psychological makeup. And yet, due to the speed at which technology has developed, the human mind is still not perfectly adapted to the complexities of our modern world. Changes in our mental mechanisms occur at a much slower pace, making us still influenced by the ancient traits inherited from our ancestors. And because of this, what influences human behavior, more than anything else, is the biological mechanisms that control us, even if people are not consciously aware of them. To exploit these aspects of human behavior, companies invest billions of dollars each year in marketing, the success of which depends on whether those designing the campaigns have an understanding of human nature or not. And so, to get us to buy, companies align marketing strategies with our evolved psychological mechanisms, creating powerful campaigns that resonate with consumers and drive their sales forward. So how is evolutionary theory and its impact on the way we think honed into the marketing campaigns we are exposed to on a daily basis? Consumption is a biosocial activity, and one lens of viewing this is through the fundamental motives framework. When people think about evolutionary success, they think only about survival and reproduction. Although these are important, there are a number of distinct evolutionary challenges that had to be overcome to achieve reproductive success. Like all other animals, at a base level, our ancestors needed nourishment and shelter. But because humans are intensely social animals, we also faced a set of central and recurrent social challenges. These fundamental ancestral challenges included evading physical harm, avoiding disease, making friends, attaining status, acquiring a mate, keeping a mate, and caring for a family. The framework suggests that these specific ancestral challenges map onto motivational systems that our ancestors used to help them solve each challenge. Activating one of these mental motivation systems produces a set of specific consequences for attention, memory, cognition, and so on. And a motive for one of these challenges can be activated by external or even internal cues that indicate a threat or opportunity. For example, the mate acquisition system can be activated by interacting with a desirable member of the opposite sex, being in the same room with such a person, being exposed to an image involving such a person, or merely imagining an encounter with such a person. But to explain the relevance in a marketing sense, think about it this way. Consistent with the fundamental motives framework, the activation of the mate acquisition system leads a person to seek out products that facilitate achieving the need of acquiring a mate. To elaborate, for men, acquiring a mate often means spending resources in ways to attract the attention from the opposite sex. For instance, activating the mate acquisition system can also erase loss aversion and increase risk-taking behavior. In fact, for men, triggering the motive to attract a mate can cause this bias to reverse itself, leading gains to loom larger than losses. Similarly, photographs of attractive members of the opposite sex and imagining a romantic encounter with an attractive partner leads men to spend more money on luxury products. But the key implication of the fundamental motives framework is the same person might make different and sometimes entirely inconsistent choices depending on which fundamental motive is currently active. As an example, activating the self-protection system leads people to conform and follow the masses. When this motive is active, such as when watching a crime-filled television program, people are more attracted to products advertised as best-selling and popular, while being less attracted to the same products when they're advertised as unique or different. Like wildebeests in the presence of a leopard, cues of physical threat motivate people to be part of a larger group, to avoid standing out or being different. By contrast, activating the mate acquisition system leads people to want to stand out from the crowd. When this motive is active, such as when watching a romantic or sexy program, people are more attracted to products advertised as unique and different, while being repulsed when the same products are advertised as popular or best-selling. And this is exactly why sports cars are often advertised alongside attractive women, to activate this mental model and guide our motivation systems towards something that stands out, like a sports car. Like an animal looking to put on display for a mate, cues of potential mates motivate people to stand out and to try to be different. In summary, the fundamental motives framework highlights the adaptive social problems that the mind is geared to solve. And then it shows us how, why, and when people's preferences and behavior change depending on which adaptive problem they are currently seeking to solve. A model of great use for marketers. But of course, I wouldn't get anywhere if I didn't bring up social structures and specifically how status seeking is used in marketing copy. Status and prestige are highly valued by humans, as they are associated with higher ranks in social structures and greater access to resources, which can lead to better survival and reproductive advantages. Status can be achieved through control of economic resources, political power, legitimate authority, or valuable skills and knowledge. Prestige, a specific type of status, is attained through skill in a particular domain. In other words, being good at something, making individuals highly regarded for their abilities. Prestigious people are respected and entitled to certain privileges because of their socially useful skills. In marketing, prestige plays a significant role as both men and women seek it. People acquire skills and knowledge in various ways, and one of the oldest methods is learning from others, where individuals learn by observing and working with skilled practitioners. These prestigious individuals are regarded as possessing socially useful skills or knowledge that can help improve their community, and because of this, they receive entitlements accordingly. Prestige is valued because it is associated with skills that allow people, both males and females, to compete for resources, which in turn enhances their ability to reproduce and care for offspring. On the other hand, people can attain high status but have relatively low prestige. But here, we will focus on the connection between prestige and marketing, because status, that is, entitlement to reward based on ranking in a hierarchy, is more actively pursued by males. The connection between status and marketing often focuses more on males, but this is something that deserves a video in its own right. People acquire skills and knowledge in a variety of ways: books, lectures, seminars, training programs, but the oldest method has been that of social learning, by imitating skilled individuals. Long before widespread literacy and the internet, people acquired skills by observing and working with mentors. Even today, one of the most effective methods of acquiring a skill is for an individual to become a member of a community in which he or she can observe and work with more skilled individuals. In addition to imitating skills, people typically imitate other behaviors of prestigious individuals. People have a natural tendency to imitate high prestige individuals, and this is where admiration actually comes from, which evolved to help us imitate and learn valuable skills, values, and beliefs. Since it's not always easy to pinpoint which behaviors lead to prestige and skill acquisition, humans may have evolved to copy many behaviors from prestigious individuals as a safe and efficient strategy, making sure we learn the right tasks that can help set us forward. Ownership and displays of prestigious consumer goods, such as status symbols like luxury cars or watches, are, to some extent, cultural equivalents of the physical traits that biologists call honest signals. Honest signals are traits that are difficult to fake. Members of the same species use honest signals as evidence of a potential mate's health, robustness, and genetic quality. For example, the male lion's mane is associated with indicators of health, such as low parasite counts and larger muscle mass. As a result, female lions preferentially mate with males with full lustrous manes. Thus, the display of prestigious consumer goods can be a type of honest signal of mate value. A man who wears expensive clothes is signaling to potential mates and male rivals about his resources and skills at acquiring wealth. Such men are generally perceived as more attractive. Women displaying prestigious consumer goods are also sending signals about their resources and expectations for resources. But there is a catch. Consumer goods are falsifiable honest signals. That means they are easy to be faked. A person of reasonably modest means with access to a credit card can give the impression of having more status than he or she actually has by going into debt or by spending all of their money on status symbols. But honest signaling and the evolutionary arms race it creates deserves a video in its own right. The appeal of prestige is widely used in marketing, and one great example of this is self-help books. Self-help books on everything from cooking to romance to management are staples in the marketplace. And in 2022, between 500,000 and 1 million business titles were published alone. Normally, one achieves prestige through years of hard work. Marketers, however, promote products that create the illusion that consumers can bypass time and effort for status. They do this with symbols, artifacts that signal an individual's prestige or status. Marketers employ both existing and new status symbols to make their products appealing. They achieve this by using advertisements to link a product with prestige. This can be done by showing how the product enhances a skill, by associating the product with a sense of prestige, or by creating an image that suggests the product is luxurious and expensive in some way. Think about all the YouTubers that talk about how they made X million in 1 year. This is a play on prestige to get you to watch their videos. To make a product more appealing, marketers may showcase a functional relationship by linking the product to expertise or skillfulness in a specific area. This association suggests that using the product will enhance the user's ability or performance in that domain, making it more attractive to potential customers. A classic strategy is to portray celebrities known for a particular skill using the product. Nike ads show celebrity athletes wearing Nike shoes and clothing on a regular basis. The message is that if the consumer uses the product, she can be more skillful or create a first impression that she is just as skillful in this same domain. Brands use this imitation mechanism all the time by connecting the products to prestigious individuals, even if there's no direct link to the particular skill at all. In the past, the increased demand for premium cigars was influenced by an advertising strategy that associated cigar smoking with luxurious lifestyles. Observers in the industry credit this surge to marketing tactics that portray cigar smoking as an upscale activity. This same phenomenon was accomplished with Juul, which used upscale parties and campaigns with faces like Leonardo DiCaprio to capitalize on the prestige associated with these individuals. But this method is nothing new, and cigar makers were using prestige appeal to sell cigars as early as the 19th century. Prestige appeal is also common cross-culturally. A good example is After Eight chocolate mints. In the 1960s, After Eight sought to internationalize its product. It used marketing strategy that appealed to prestige, depicting well-heeled people marveling over their product, and the campaign worked. The mints grew in popularity throughout Germany, Holland, Italy, and France. The price of the product itself also signals prestige. Cultivating an image that a product is expensive can increase the appeal of it. Owning and displaying an expensive product can signal that the owner has the surplus of resources in order to make such a purchase, and therefore the skills to acquire the resources. Over 100 years ago, economist Thorsten Veblen introduced the concept of conspicuous consumption, which refers to the consumption of goods to display wealth. He also suggested that this behavior might be influenced by a psychological mechanism from the past. Today, products like jewelry and watches are often marketed as status symbols because they are easily displayed ornaments. Advertising such as status symbols is anything but new in the realm of marketing. Upscale watches have been marketed as status symbols for decades, and this still continues today. Other examples of using evolution and its outcomes in marketing are much more subtle. A great example, as odd as it may sound, is landscapes. Psychological mechanisms or landscape preferences evolved because landscapes with certain features were more beneficial to survival and reproduction than others. This is why most people still regard certain types of landscapes and landscape features as more beautiful and attractive than others. According to Thornhill's definition of beauty, it is the emotional response linked to the processing of information that suggests high reproductive success in evolutionary history. As a result, people naturally find flowing water, green landscapes with trees and lakes and distant mountains more beautiful than stagnant water, arid landscapes, or flat terrain. Fun fact, this is also why we find cold water more refreshing. Clear, cold, flowing water comes from recently melted snow or ice, and usually has fewer potentially harmful bacteria than stagnant water. Much like this, savanna landscapes have higher concentrations of resources for land-dwelling omnivorous primates like ourselves, and mountains and hills convey a sense of desire to learn more about the landscape, usually because it is linked to cleaner water. Empirical studies have found that people have strong preferences for such ancestral cues: water sources, oases, flowers, ripe fruits, savanna, forest canopies, and so on. These evolved preferences are commonly used in advertising. Marketers use attractive landscapes to evoke positive emotional associations. In our culture and many others, landscape features have been frequently used to set brands apart. Researchers have observed how certain elements in the surroundings can influence people's perceptions and preferences for different brands. Mountains, mystery, and adventure are regulars in marketing campaigns for sport utility vehicles, or even in video games, with God of War making use of this appeal in its smash hit game, God of War 4 and 5. Marketers appealing to evolved preferences for these landscapes, mountains, water, and flowers, are also prominent in advertisements of resorts. To anyone who has spent any time in a hotel or resort, it is obvious that landscape features influence the price of the room. Rooms with a view of a mountain or the coast are inevitably more expensive than rooms with a view of a parking lot. Interestingly, even products that can be harmful are given a healthy spin through clever associations with beautiful landscapes. Advertisements for Kool cigarettes superimpose a pack of Kools over a sparkling river, surrounded by lush greens and wooded patches. Alcoholic beverages, such as Coors beer, are frequently marketed in a similar manner, with the product superimposed over a mountain stream running through a beautiful cold landscape. Moving forward, consumer psychologists have extensively studied the relationship between mood states, emotions, and consumer behavior. Yet only a few marketing scholars have delved into the evolutionary origins of our emotional system. The truth is that emotions have evolved to address important problems relevant to our survival and reproduction. Guilt, anger, fear, romantic jealousy, envy, disgust, and love are all universal emotions that are functionally adaptive in some way. Take fear as an example. Throughout evolution, humans have developed an innate preparedness to fear certain stimuli that have been consistent threats throughout our history. For example, snakes and spiders are two examples of stimuli that our ancestors encountered frequently and posed potential dangers. As a result, we have a natural tendency to fear and react to these specific threats more readily than anything else that would come up in our environment. All this means fear-inducing stimuli don't need to be learned through conditioning. They cannot be controlled by cognitive processes, are triggered automatically, and have a dedicated neural system for processing. These stimuli often lead to common phobias and are also present in some of our primate relatives. Mental illnesses, like anxiety, are remnants of this system. Not only can evolution help us predict what triggers fear universally, but it also explains why we process fear-related information differently in various ecologically relevant situations. An understanding of the evolutionary basis of fear might prove helpful when developing global advertising campaigns that rely on fear. Examples of this in marketing, as manipulative as it may be, are the news using fear-mongering or YouTubers using clickbait headlines to get us to watch. Lastly, cultural products like movies, TV shows, songs, and books offer insights into our human nature shaped by evolution. By analyzing these products, we can discover universal human traits that exist across different times and cultures. But before delving into examples of how cultural products can be analyzed from an evolutionary perspective, it's essential to understand other evolutionary approaches to studying culture. Mimetic theory examines the factors that cause some memes, the cultural analog to the gene, to spread more rapidly than others. For instance, some company rumors can spread quickly because they are strongly connected to issues that have been important for our survival throughout evolution. Say rumors related to food disgust, that tap into a topic that has been crucial for our well-being and safety throughout human history. When we examine various cultural products, we find a consistent set of universal themes that strongly appeal to our emotions and capture our attention. For example, a study by Davis and McLeod in 2003 analyzed newspaper headlines from different countries over a span of more than 300 years. They discovered a reoccurring set of themes that have evolutionary significance, aligning with the four models mentioned earlier: survival, reproduction, kin selection, and altruistic acts. Altruism is like heroic efforts to save a stranger's life. These themes are deeply rooted in our evolutionary history and continue to resonate with us, making them powerful elements in various cultural expressions and media. These Darwinian themes drive the plot lines of movies and soap operas, whether originating from the United States, Egypt, or Brazil. The practical prescription is clear. Commercially successful cultural products are those that offer content that is congruent with our evolved human nature. And it is a model that even the hero's journey pattern in storytelling is based off of. If you take a look at some of the most suddenly popular products that came out in the last 20 or so years, from pornography to social media, all are congruent with evolutionary themes in some way. All in all, marketing as a discipline is not something that from the start set out to take advantage of evolutionary theory. Instead, as marketers became better and better at understanding human nature, the two fields began to overlap more and more, as marketers continue to draw inspiration from what was relevant to us in our evolutionary history. So now, we've covered evolutionary theory in product design, we've covered evolutionary theory in marketing. In the next video, I want to go into detail about whether or not it is manipulative.